Good morning, good Saturday morning, and welcome to New Thought Talk. I am the Reverend Steve Walling from the Spiritual Awareness Center located in beautiful downtown Madera. And once again, I am glad to be here with you today. We're going to have an hour, which seems like a long time always when I get started, but by the time I get to the end of the show, it's like it goes by so fast. But we've got this hour together this Saturday morning, and I'm looking forward to spending time with you. Today, I want to take a moment and ask you, what are you doing tomorrow morning on Sunday? You know, it was Will Rogers that said, there's lies, there's damn lies, and there's statistics. And in looking up statistics on people that spend their Sunday mornings in some kind of a spiritual celebration setting, it's a very interesting thing. What has been a trend over the last 50 years are people are leaving the organized church on Sunday mornings. We have things like NASCAR and football games and soccer games and many other things, family get-togethers, and sometimes it's just the desire to sleep in late that keeps us home on a Sunday morning. And as a result, there's been a move away from organized religion. But you know, these statistics also show something very interesting. They show that there is an increasing number of people that are looking to find some way to connect with their personal spirituality. Now, you would think that that is in direct opposition to the first set of statistics, but actually, one really doesn't have much to do with the other. As people begin to go through their life, and seemingly as we reach that time in our life when we get a little, what I would like to say is a little more mature, maybe not older, but a level of maturity, all those things that captured and captivated us as younger people, the relativeness or the relevance of it seems to change as we get a little older. All of a sudden, there's something within us, oftentimes, that makes us feel like maybe there's just a little something more. Maybe there's something that we want to be connected to. Now, if you come from a background where you grew up in a church environment, oftentimes that drives you back into the church. And what we have found, and again, this is statistics, is when people go back to their old place of spiritual communion, oftentimes they find that it doesn't seem relevant in their life today. Things have changed for us. People are seeking something greater than a 2,000-year-old dogma that has held them in a state of stasis, if you will. They feel like that humankind has evolved, and maybe even our understanding of the divine nature of God has evolved. And so people leave. Oftentimes they leave and they don't seek someplace else to help them grow and develop their spiritual life. So that's kind of what I want to address today. And in doing that, I'm also going to share with you a little bit about the center where I spend most of my Sundays out in Madera. Consider first that you were created as a spiritual being, having a physical life experience. And no matter what philosophical, theological background you come from, most people are pretty comfortable with that understanding, that there is a spiritual nature to us that transcends beyond this physical life expression that we live. Consider this, that maybe, just maybe, that is the primary manifestation of who you are, that this physical expression is just transitory, that we are here for a period of time in these bodies, but there is something deeper, more personal, more intimate to us that is an eternalness, an eternal nature. And It's that we need to nurture. It's that we need to grow. It's that we need to see expressed. And that is, I believe, our purpose for being here in this physical life. And so what happens is, at some point, we begin to look for something beyond ourselves. And when we go back to our old ways of dealing with our spirituality, our old ways of understanding what spirituality is, oftentimes it falls short. That brings us to what we call New Thought, ancient wisdom, New Thought, science of mind, New Thought, unity, New Thought, divine science. Basically, this idea of new thought, new thinking, a new way of looking at what is. And we start with the premise that God is a greater God than what we have had an understanding of. That God's not a being that is to be found somewhere, located far off in a chair or throne or somewhere outside and away from us. That in fact, that God is so intimate to us that we are in truth really a individualized manifestation of this divine essence, beingness that we refer to as God. And it can be God or spirit or goddess. It really doesn't make any difference, because in the beginning there was just God. And from God all that was made has been made. And this is the expression and the experience that we have in this life. So we look to this as our foundational understanding when we look to grow our inherent and internal spirituality. We begin to seek, but we seek through learning, through books, through studies, through our Sunday celebrations, through meditation, through affirmations, but all the learning and all the connection, if you will, takes place within us, because it's there that God communicates to us. It is within us, in that silence, in our innermost being, that we actually experience God. There are people that find this to be a little daunting when they first come to this understanding, but I want you to consider that as you go through your day-to-day life, where are you? Who are you? And what is it that you're doing? And if you understand that God is some part of you that is manifesting through you, and you begin to see that your life experience is an exchange of energy with everything else, all of creation that's going on around you, that you are in some way having an effect on the creation. In some way, the creation is having an effect on you, but you are the ultimate determining factor in what that experience is. In other words, your life experience is what you can create through your ability to choose how you interact and respond to your life experience. If God was not everywhere, if God was not some part of you, that would not be possible. All you could be is just a victim to whatever happens. Life happens. Life happens to all of us, and sometimes it happens in a wonderful way, and sometimes it happens in a much more dramatic way. How we respond to that is where our true power is. And how we respond to that takes place within our mind, and in our mind is where we have our true power of choice, volition. And through that, we have an understanding of the expression of God as us. I want to read something to you. This is from the Science of Mind. The science of mind and spirit makes a tremendous claim when it states that the individual should be free from the bondage of sickness and poverty and unhappiness. It does, however, carefully set forth the conditions under which freedom operates and the laws governing life, stating in no uncertain terms that unless man understands these conditions and obeys these laws, he will not receive the full benefits of these teachings. It goes on to say that the world is beginning to realize that it has learned all that it should through suffering and pain. Surely there can be no intelligence in the universe that wishes man to be sick or suffer pain, to be unhappy, to end in oblivion. Surely if God or universal intelligence is imbued with goodness, then it could not ordain that man should ultimately be other than the perfect expression of life itself. In other words, a God of love that creates us doesn't turn us loose and then condemn us to suffer, to live a life of pain, lack, limitation, and poverty. On the other hand, it doesn't give us everything is just an unfolding right now so that you can experience it, and you must experience it because it's been given to you, because that would leave you as nothing more than some type of an automation. You would have no ability to grow. It's like when we see kids that get everything in their life, they never learn what it's like to develop, to begin to get the tools that they need to create a life, to earn the things. And ultimately, sometimes those kids, when they grow up, they have trouble, they struggle in life. Well, we have trouble and we struggle in life sometimes. But the difference is that we have the ability, through our conscious development of our spiritual reality, we have the ability to change our life circumstances. And when can we do this? What conditions have to take place for this to happen? All we have to do is awaken to the fact of the truth of who we are. When we begin to realize that we are the divine that is manifest as us, that God has developed a beingness that is myself or yourself, that God has provided everything for us, but has left us to discover what is there. And therein is where we grow. That's where we take our spiritual nature and begin to develop it into the creative nature, the power in our life experience. You see, Ernest Holmes used to open his shows. He had a show on TV and radio, and he used to say, there is a power and a presence in the universe for good, and it is available to you. Man, what a concept, what a consciousness. There is a power and a presence for good in the universe, and it is available to you when you make yourself available to it. And that's what New Thought, religious science, science of mind is all about, is learning to make yourself available to the greater good. Some 2,000 years ago, there was a teacher that said, when you pray believing that it is done unto you, your prayers are answered. Well, what are you going to believe? You're going to believe that you're out there on your own and alone? Are you going to pray? Are you going to believe that as you pray that there is an essence of force in nature that responds to you, that there is an answer for the prayer that is contained within the prayer itself? And my friends, that is the truth of reality. There is an answer contained within the prayer, that when the one praying knows this at the level that they know this, it is available to them. That is a great concept. It frees us from the bondage of being subject to the vagaries of life, of being a victim to whatever happens. And it makes no difference what your background is. It makes no difference what social strata of society you come from. It makes no difference whether you are male or female, whether you are an African American or a Caucasian, or whether you're Hispanic or a native. It makes no difference at all. We are all divine beings. We are all spiritual beings experiencing this expression of a physical life. And the God of all is available in all to each and every one of us. And on that note, we're going to cut away to a commercial, and I will see you when we come back.
There's a lot of good reasons to support Measure G, but for me, the most important is the funding Measure G provides to keep police officers and firefighters on the job. In the agreement with the city, Mid-Valley Disposal provides funding to help balance the budget and avoid more public safety cuts. So while outsourcing trash may not seem like a priority, safety in our neighborhoods definitely is. Please join me in supporting Measure G. It's a good deal for our city.
Hello, Central Valley. I want to invite you to a special restaurant. This restaurant not only was the first to bring this kind of food for the Central Valley, but it's also the longest lasting restaurant in Fresno with Oaxacan native food. The Oaxacan restaurant is found in the Central Valley in Fresno, on the corner of Belmont and Chestnut. This is an example of the delicious food you could find here. This is the skillet nopal oaxaqueño. This oven roasted nopal gives you a beautiful taste and texture and fiber for your life. Gives you a fulfilling meal. Plus, this string cheese is special string cheese from Oaxaca. The owner takes pride in bringing fresh products. And of course, to close it off, we have fresh made corn tortillas. The good old way.
I am a monster.
I will never back down.
I am part of a tradition.
I got green in my veins!
I'm ready to go!
I'm a monster!
This is our team.
This is our town!
This is our barn! This is our time.
I am relentless.
I will never get tired of the goal song.
I'm ready to go!
I will never quit.
I am a monster.
I am a monster!
I am a monster!
Watch Tim Thiessen live Wednesdays at 3 p.m. right here on CentralValleyTalk.com and on digital channel 33.2. If you missed the live broadcast, we're on every Wednesday night at 11 p.m. on Comcast channel 200 and digital channel 43.5. You don't want to miss this.
You're watching CentralValleyTalk.com.
CentralValleyTalk.com.
Well, welcome back to our second segment today. This is New Thought Talk. I am the Reverend Steve Walling from the Spiritual Awareness Center, presently located in beautiful downtown Madera. And I invite you to join us on Sunday, any Sunday. Come on out, and I'm going to talk about that wonderful growing center out there in Madera here in a bit. But before I do, I want to cap something as I left off the end of our first segment. I want to read something more to you here. And this goes along with what I was saying. It says, if someone should ask whether or not God has any intention for him, the answer would be that the only intention God could have, if man is an individual, would be to let the individual alone to discover him or herself. It is in this discovery that man impresses the law, which is sensitive, creative, and can deduce only, can impress the law with the images of his own belief about himself, and the law creates a form around these beliefs and images. Now, what exactly is that I'm talking about? The law creates around these forms and images. Well, one of the things that we teach is that God knows us at the level that we know ourselves. Now, I shared this last Sunday with a congregation that I was speaking before, and someone asked me afterwards just exactly what was it that meant. How could God know us only at the level that we know ourselves when the standard teaching is that the all-knowing God would know everything? Well, in one sense, God is the creative source and the force of the universe and does, in a sense, know that. But if God is expressing as us through us, then the knowingness is only at the level that we know ourselves. But the potential for us is incredible, far beyond what the average man or woman even begins to imagine for themselves. Imagine that there is an energy that responds to thought. Imagine that thought does not end just inside the cranium itself. That thought actually extends beyond. Now, I tell you, I came from a background. I'm a retired doctor of chiropractic many years ago, and when I graduated from chiropractic college, what we knew about the brain compared to what we know about the brain today is like the dark ages to the high-tech computer age of today. With the advent of functional MRIs and various sundry of other research equipment, we now know on a scientific level that brain waves, thought waves, actually extend beyond the human body itself. Now, this is something in religious science we've talked about for years. It's something that Carl Jung talked about when he talked about the idea of this collective consciousness. We talk about it in the terms of race consciousness. In other words, that there is an energy that exists that is pervasive around everything, that is a thought energy. And that as we think thoughts, we think that into this energy, and there is something that responds. Now, we like to refer to it as mind, the creative source of all that is. In the beginning, there was just God. In the beginning, there was just mind. And as God moved upon the waters where thought, creation takes place. That's a concept that has been bandied about for thousands of years. But think about this, my friends. Think about this today. If there was only God in the beginning, then any and everything that has been created must come from that which was only here in the beginning, if it's infinite. And I do believe it was infinite. So you are some part of that creative force and source. And we are all interconnected. There is a unity of life, and on some level, there are people that sense this very deeply. They know this within their beingness. For most of us, as we go along through life, we don't have a clue. Like I said in the earlier segment, at some point, as a result of our maturity, of our age, we begin to feel something within us that maybe there's something more to life than just this physical experience. And we begin to look. We begin to search. We begin to go within, and when we go within, we find that there's something there that responds. You know, it's very interesting. It was only a week or two ago that the new Pope made a statement which caused a little disruption in the world. He said that even atheists could go to heaven. That is so incongruous for what the church has taught for thousands of years. But the thing is, to deny that someone that does not believe in a spiritual being, their ability to be a spiritual individual is also very incongruous. And you see, beyond our life expression here, it doesn't make that much difference whether you believe that there's something beyond this or whether you believe that this is it. If you begin to develop within yourself, within your heart and your consciousness, a level of spirituality, all that you need will unfold for you. Now, whether you want to believe that it's a God that provides it for you, or whether you want to believe that is the energetic consciousness within your mind, it doesn't make any difference to me. You know, in New Thought, it's we are a very progressive philosophy, if you will, around the turn of the 19th to the 20th century when New Thought was really beginning to grow and become a very dynamic teaching within this country. It was a powerful force in the suffragette movement, women's rights, the determination that women are not something less than, that they're not chattel to be owned by some man, but they are in fact an equal being. And today, right here in 2013, we still hold this concept of an individuality of each and every being is an equal being in the eyes of the creative force, because it is that which created us all. What your background is, what your personal preference in life is, as long as you are living in harmony with the divine, as long as you're living within the harmony of the divine. In other words, you're not taking from someone, you're not stealing from someone, that your life experience is a giving and a receiving of good. You are equal in the eyes of the creative source of the universe, what we call God. Now, the laws of this country, as at this time, may not exactly state that, but it's evolving and it's changing. If you have questions in your life, if you're looking for a place where you can go and express your life and know that you are going to be accepted regardless of who you are, you want to grow your spirituality, you want to become all that you can be in this life experience, you might want to consider seeking out a New Thought center, New Thought church. And that brings me to where I come from, out in beautiful downtown Madera. Now, I understand that this show is seen by people far beyond the Central Valley of California, and so later on in the show we'll talk about finding a center in some place near you. But if you happen to live somewhere between Visalia and Chowchilla, you might want to consider hopping on the 99 and heading north or south, ending up in Madera at the Spiritual Awareness Center, or ending up in Fresno at the New Thought Community, or the Oneness Center, or the Center for Spiritual Living, or the Unity Center, and those are the New Thought centers that are located in Fresno. Someplace near you, someplace that you can get to, someplace where you can celebrate your spirituality, someplace where you can begin to learn the truth of who you are in the divine creation that you are in this physical expression of your life. It is available to you. The teaching is there. The teachers are there. And the venues are there for you to go to. And there's a place where you can go to and celebrate who you are. What a concept. Get up on a Sunday morning and decide that today is your day. Today is the day that you want to experience your spirituality. And there is a spiritual essence, a God in the universe that will respond to you. Because as you believe about yourself, so life will unfold for you at that level. You know, if you believe that life is tough, if you believe that life is to be suffered, that struggle is your day-to-day experience, then that's what you'll experience. But if you believe that there is possibly something better for you, isn't it time that you stepped out into that something better? And isn't it time that you begin to experience that as your life expression and experience? And isn't right now the time that you can consider showing up at a place where people of like-mindedness celebrate their spirituality, and you can continue to grow and learn the tools that you can put into play in your life and learn the understanding of the good of who you are. So, Sunday morning, out in Madera, be there. Here's the thing. We're located right across from the main post office in downtown Madera at 218 South D Street. But you can come and you will be welcomed and you will have an experience that I guarantee you will be comfortable with. It won't feel so different from if you have come from a traditional background, but yet it will be so extremely different in what you get by the time you leave. You will be amazed. There won't be someone up there telling you about what you're not, what you can't, what is short in your life, and how you need to suffer and do without. But there will be something or someone up there that will tell you how you are a divine creation of God and how you will experience and can experience your expression in this life at a level far greater than you are experiencing now. Consider that no matter where you're at in life, that there is something better for you. And consider that all you have to do is make a choice right here, right now, to become involved with it. And I challenge you to make that choice. I challenge you to step into the life that you were created to live. You know, we believe and we teach that actually it is, if we have one thing that we call a sin, it is a sin for humankind to live at a level less than their potential. That God created us to live at a potential that we fully express at, and in our living at that level, everything that we need, want, and desire is available to us. But we have to open our consciousness up. We have to awaken to it. And you know, we call this a new thought, but this is a thought and a thinking that predates the written word. It predates Christianity. It predates many other philosophies and theologies, because it goes back to a very, very core understanding of what humanity is. And that is that we are an expression of the divine, that we are the expression of God. And right now we are an expression of time to go to our next commercial break. So I will see you and we'll continue this talk when I come back.
Fat Man's Alley, Hungry Howie's, and Scoops Ice Cream. Tower Health Food, Samba Steakhouse, Mike Briggs Properties. There's Tower Market, Farmers Market too. Kuka's and Landmark, Mr. Sushi for you. Chicken Pie Shop, Fulton's Pulley, Palomino's, Spinner's Records, Tower Bike Shop, Irene's To Go, Bobby Sal's Restaurant, The Perfect Blend and Million Elephant, H&R Block, Starbucks Coffee, Piemonte's, Roger Rocca's Dinner Theater, The Second Space, Tower Tattoos, La Tienda, Me and Ed's is the place. International Furniture, The Review Cafe, T closers will demarcate. Love Oak knows the way. Typhoon Restaurant, the Game Preserve, and B of A. Sequoia Brewing, Russo Restaurant, Tower Clocks today. Come to the tower, there's so much fun for everyone. Every morning, every evening, ain't we got fun?
You're watching CentralValleyTalk.com.
CentralValleyTalk.com.
Well, welcome back to the New Thought Talk. I am the Reverend Steve Walling from where we are presently located in beautiful downtown Madera. We are a growing New Thought religious science center there. And once again, I want to extend an invitation to you to come out and join us on our Sunday celebration. Get a firsthand experience of how empowering and how wonderful it is to celebrate the truth of who we are during our Sunday expression and experience. It's an incredible thing. And I'm going to come back to our center in just a minute, but during the break, I was talking about the concept of New Thought in today. And in the last segment, I talked about New Thought at the turn of the last century, how we saw within this philosophy that everybody is created equal in the understanding of the divine nature of things. And that is still held in consciousness and mind today. It is still the teaching of New Thought today, that everybody is held in equality, that all life is important, that all life is some part of the divine nature. And I was sharing a little bit of my background. Now, I mentioned earlier in the show that I retired as a doctor of chiropractic. That was, that was over 20 years ago now. But at some point, I came across this idea of a spiritual understanding that I could grow my spiritual consciousness, that I have a personal relationship with the divine, and I have the ability, just as you do, I have the ability to determine what my expression and what my experience and what my reaction to life will be, and what kind of life that I will live. Will I live a life of poverty, of lack and limitation? And there's many of us that do. We live this life because we live in a level of ignorance. We have no understanding that there is a greater truth out there. And as I begin to read and I begin to study and I begin to see that this thing that we call God is available to us, that it has one purpose in the universe, and that purpose is to be the creator. And it needs things to create. It looks for things to create. And it creates through each and every one of us. It creates through our consciousness, through our thought, and through our level of belief. And as I begin to experience this, as I begin to study this, and I begin to look at what's going on in the world around us today, you know, from the things that are outside of our country where there's wars, and I'm not talking just about the war that the United States is involved with, but there's things going on all over the world, that there's poverty, that there's lack, there's limitation, there's disease, and there's people living here today at a level of poverty that is unconscionable. Not because there's somebody or something that needs to do something for them, but because they don't understand the power that's within them that they can do for themselves. And I begin to understand that there is a truth that everybody needs to know. And that truth is that we are empowered by a God that is a creative God that will do for us at the level that we open our mind up, we open our consciousness up, and we allow it to do for us. Which means that we don't need to suffer, we don't need to experience disease or poverty. That it is a falsity within our consciousness that creates us. It is an acceptance of mankind, of something less than when we have all that is available for us and to us when we open our hearts and our minds up. So, as I looked around, as I began to study this New Thought science of mine, and I began to see what's going on in the world, I began to believe that right now is the time that the world needs this message. And this message isn't just You know, it's not just something that you hear in New Thought. There are people within, you take Joel Osteen, for example, within the Christian community. He is teaching this level of consciousness. He is teaching these tools, and he's teaching it within a Christian context. And there are people that teach it within a Buddhist context. There are people that teach it within various other contexts, because there are certain basic truths to the universe. And when we begin to awaken it and become aware of these truths, we can put them as principles into practice in our lives. You know, we don't think about when we go into the room and we flip a light switch and the light comes on, but we're using a principle of electricity. We don't think about when we climb stairs or we step off a curb out in the street that we're using a principle of gravity. There are principles in the universe that are immutable, and we use them all the time. We can't see them, but they are available to us. And when we use them constructively in our life, we benefit by that constructive use. Well, there are also spiritual principles that are truths that we can use in our lives, and that's what this teaching, that's what this philosophy teaches, that you don't have to sit today and experience the depravity, the poverty, the lack, the limitation, the abuse, whatever it is that you're experiencing in your life, that there is a better life available for you, and it is a better life that is available to you today. That is the promise of New Thought, and that is the power of New Thought. But it's not a giveaway. Oftentimes we get people that come and they've seen like this movie, The Secret, or some of the other movies that are out, and they go, oh, hook me up, I'm ready to go. You know, all I got to do is sit here and just hold it in my mind, and I'm going to watch the universe unfold and come to me. It doesn't work that way. To live the life that you were intended to live in the creation that you were created in, you have to take and you have to be a participant in this life. You can't sit on your duff and wait for the universe to come to you. You have to actively do the things that allow you to open your mind, which means you may have to do some meditation. You may have to do some affirmations. You may actually physically have to go out and seek that job or do the work or look in the help wanted ads or whatever. But when you do it with an understanding that there is something that will respond to you, when you have an expectation of the truth, and that response will come to you. As Emerson said, when you make a decision and you follow that up with a belief, the universe will open doors for you. And that is so true. That is so very true. Jesus said many years ago, he said, "Fear not, little flock, it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom." Well, if it's God's good pleasure to give us the kingdom, then it should be our privilege to accept it. And unfortunately, we're not taught to accept. We're taught to suffer. We suffer in this life so that we can experience something beyond this life. But there's only one life. This physical expression is just a part of that greater life. It didn't begin when we come into this world, and it doesn't end when we go out of this world. There is a continuum of you as you are, because you were created as a spiritual being. There's nothing that says you've got to experience suffering and lack and limitation in this life so that maybe you'll get a reward once you transcend this life into something else. God created you as some part of God, and at what level do we have a belief or understanding that God chooses to limit God's self? Maybe we should open our hearts and our minds to the understanding that just maybe God created us to live a life and an expression as full as we can, and has given us the power and the tools to experience that life. And there are examples of people that have come into this life or experienced this life that have physical things that hold them back, that have transcended that on a mental and spiritual level to live a life of great example and great abundance. And that is the truth. Great abundance is available to us, but only if you believe it. And you got to believe it. Ernest Holmes says, you got to know, and you've got to know that you know. And if you can't know that, then God will only know you at the level that you know yourself, as I said earlier. And if that is a level of I am not enoughness, that I should suffer some kind of lack or limitation, that I should be considered less than by my peers, by my society, that I should be treated poorly because I have a poor self-image. There's a time, and let this be your time, my friends, to step out of that consciousness, to step into a greater good, to step into a light, a divine light of love, of peace and harmony. And as you do that, understanding that you as a spiritual being have an effect on the world far beyond your physical shape, the definition, your size, your body, that you go beyond, you touch beyond, far beyond the being that you are physically. Because in the spiritual realm, we're all connected as one. That as you transcend this consciousness of less than-ness, and you begin to move into a consciousness of greatness and of wonder and of excitement and experience of who you are, that the people around you begin to see that and sense that, and they begin to respond to it, and the next thing you know, they're treating you at that level, and at the same time, people beyond them are treating you at that level, and beyond them, people are treating each other at a higher level just because you made a choice to be better and greater than you are. And that is available to you. That's what moves me in this life. That's what moves me in this teaching. That now is the time, that as the community, as the society, as the news tells you that there's stuff going on in the world and that you have to suffer, experience less than this, have a depression or a recession or some kind of hardship in your life, it's not true. It's only true if you allow it to be true for yourself. You can step out of that. But you have to step out of it with a decision. And my friends, it's easy for me to say, but if you make that decision, then you have to make the next decision to move beyond yourself, to seek a level of understanding and learning. You have to yearn for that which you want. And then you have to learn to fulfill the things that you need to have, to know, to fulfill that yearning. And then you have to take and put it into action, and you will earn the good that you are. You will earn it through consciousness. You'll earn it through love. You'll earn it through action. You'll earn it through transcending where you are now. That's a powerful concept, but it's available to you. So what that means is you decide, you've heard me speak today. Maybe this is the first time you've heard someone say the words that that you're hearing from me. And so you decide that you will do something about it. You make a decision to be greater than you are. Well, what are you going to do? Well, here's what you're going to do. You're going to find a place to go, or a place to contact, a place to connect with people that can help you, that can teach you, that can give you tools to empower you, that can make things available to you that once learned and utilized in your life, it will change your life forever. We have those tools in Madera. You can come to the Spiritual Awareness Center in Madera and you can learn. But you don't live in Madera, maybe. Maybe you live in LA. Maybe you live across the country. Maybe you live in another country. When we come back, I will share with you the ways that you can work through your home and you can find an expression of this philosophy in the way of a church or a center near you or nearest to you. So hang on, we'll see you when we come back.
There's a lot of good reasons to support Measure G, but for me, the most important is the funding Measure G provides to keep police officers and firefighters on the job. In the agreement with the city, Mid-Valley Disposal provides funding to help balance the budget and avoid more public safety cuts. So while outsourcing trash may not seem like a priority, safety in our neighborhoods definitely is. Please join me in supporting Measure G. It's a good deal for our city.
Did you know you could buy a home in this foreclosure market for as little as $500 a month. If you want your kids to go to McLean High School, Scandinavian Middle School, or Erickson, take a look at this beautiful home, 3-bedroom, 2-bath. There's a beautiful rock wall to put a wood-burning stove. There's also a very open floor plan with another fireplace. The kitchen, you've got to see the kitchen. It has a beautiful snack bar for your kids to sit and do their homework while you're preparing the dinner. Under $500 a month. Call us and see if you're qualified. Call Mike Briggs at Mike Briggs Properties at 486-6758 or go to MikeBriggsProperties.com.
You can purchase this nearly new home near Kings Canyon and Fowler Avenues for as little as $800 a month. At 1,700 square feet, it has 4 bedrooms and 2 baths and a 3-car garage. It is located near Sunnyside Shopping Centers and has great access to Freeway 180. This home is located in the Clovis Unified School District. For more information on any of our properties, check out MikeBriggsProperties.com or call Mike Briggs Properties at 486-6758.
Hi, I'm Greg Rude, a local real estate agent working with London Properties. You might be thinking about buying or selling a property right now, or maybe you just have a question about real estate. I'd love to help you with that. Give me a call at 352-7716 and I can answer any questions that you might have. Maybe you've got a property that's upside down. Maybe you're interested in buying a bank foreclosure and have a question about that. Or maybe you just like someone to show you some houses that you're interested in or have a question about a particular property. Once again, give me a call. My name's Greg, 352-7716, and I'd love to help you. Thanks.
You're watching CentralValleyTalk.com.
CentralValleyTalk.com.
Well, welcome back. This is the 4th segment. It's like I said in the opening segment. You know, I start off and I think, how are we going to fill an hour? And I'm looking at what's left on the clock and I'm going, I need more time. Well, I'll get more time because we'll be back in a couple weeks with a new fresh show for you. So you'll come back and watch that because this is important stuff. But before we go on, I want to read something to you here. The Spirit has not withheld good from us, but ignorance of the true law of supply has caused us to have fear. They could not enter in because of their unbelief and because they limited the Holy One of Israel, is the quote. We should endeavor to stop limiting God. All things are given unto us, but we receive only what we believe in. God gives us in the abstract. We receive in the concrete. The gift of heaven is forever made. The receiving of this gift is an eternal process of forever expanding the infinite or the finite, because we cannot contract the absolute. We cannot contract God. We shall have to expand the finite. The finite is our belief, our understanding. Our beliefs and our understanding. So, as we wrap up this 4th and final segment today, you're all fired up. You heard some good things. You want to put this into practice in your life. But you don't live near Madera where you can come see me or one of my associate ministers that speak on Sunday. So what are you going to do? Well, there is, and we're going to get it up here, a banner at the bottom. There is a place that you can go online that says it's called findacenter.com or findacenter.org. And when you go there, there's a map of the world and you can click on that. So it makes no difference. We have viewers in the Middle East. We have viewers in the Orient. We have viewers in Europe, and we have viewers in Canada and across the United States. It's amazing when I've seen the demographics of the viewers that we've got. So it makes no difference where you're at. You go to that map. It's a map of the world. You put your little cursor on wherever you're at, and you click on that, and it will bring up listings of all the New Thought centers that are located in that area, whether it's a state or if it's a big enough state, it breaks it down into cities. If it's a country, maybe into various districts within the country. But you'll find the one there that's closest to you, and the people that put this map together have done their research to include every New Thought center in the world that they can find. And if you know of one that's not on there, then you need to contact that center and have them go to findacenter.com and make contact with the people that put it together, and they'll get their center put on there. Because we want to make sure that everybody, everywhere in the world, has access to this. Because like I said before, I believe this is the time for New Thought in the world. It's time to start creating a better world. It's time to start creating a world where we are all personally, individually empowered, that we can live a life of abundance. You know, it's not about lack and limitation. There's enough good for everybody to go around many times over. But we got to know it, we got to own it, and we got to share it. And that's what this is about. So you go to this Find a Center, and you look, and you don't see something that is close enough to you that you can get to easily. Go ahead and take the time and contact them, maybe by mail, maybe by email. They may have a website. Get in touch with them. But at the same time, there is another resource available put out by the very same people, and that's newthoughtlibrary.com or .org. And at New Thought Library, you will find a list of authors there and books. Now, these are books and authors that the copyright has been expired on, or permission has been given to the library. So these are not pirated copies. This is a legitimate library that offers for you free these pioneers in New Thought thinking. And I will tell you that I'm in the library online on a regular basis, reading some of these things that I don't have hard copies personally in my personal library, so I go back and I look them up there. There is fundamental reading there, and as you look up the various people, the authors, then you can go online and you can look up the Wikipedia on these people, see their lives and stuff. You find some interesting, fascinating people, great thinkers, people that were far advanced to their time. And their books, they're available. The information that's there is incredible. You know, the language might be a little dated, but the information and the knowledge is there, and it's there for you to use. And if you happen to be local, you happen to be in the Central Valley, consider that there is a center located in downtown Madera that teaches this on a regular basis. We also have classes. We have a little bookstore that we can, if you want to get hard copies, your own copies of the books, you can purchase them through us. You can also get books through, of course, Amazon and various other things. There are some centers in Fresno. One of the things that I spoke about, that I referred to, that I am from the Spiritual Awareness Center, presently located in downtown Madera. I'm going to be moving the center. We don't know where yet, but we know that we are. We're moving not out of Madera unless it's just at the north end of Fresno, but we are keeping our consciousness in the southern Madera area for our people that we presently serve. I am the spiritual leader and the minister to my congregation there, and I have no, at this point, I have no desire to leave that behind. We will be moving, and we will be, as we have been, continually growing. We're growing because people are discovering this. It's amazing. We have people that come in from other faiths, and oftentimes they'll sit with me after our celebration, and they'll talk about, they don't want to leave their faith. They grew up in it. And you don't have to. We can share what we have to share with you. And you can go back to your church or your temple or your synagogue or your cathedral. It doesn't make any difference. These tools are there. They're like gravity. You don't use gravity because you are one belief or another. You use gravity because it's there. You use electricity because it's there. These principles are there. New Thought, we call them New Thought principles, but they're Old Thought principles. They're consciousness principles. They're spiritual principles. Spirit has been around since the very beginning, before the beginning. It has no beginning. The principles go back that far. They're available to you. What more can you do for yourself than to make the choice to step out and break the bonds of your old belief, to step into a life that is free, that is empowered, that is abundance. And abundance is how you define abundance, not how I define abundance. You know, I had people that have come and they've said, Rev, Steve, you know, I have issues because my belief system that I grew up with, you know, talks about, you know, the humility and the humanity of poverty. And you talk about success and abundance, and I don't see how that correlates. Imagine, just imagine that God would create you and tie you down and keep you from experiencing life. How can you correlate that with the life experience? If God put you in a box somewhere, maybe I'd say okay. But God dropped you into a world of abundance. Life is ever, but you cannot count the stars in the sky or the grains of sand on the beach. You know, in the Central Valley, I drive out and I see all this growth, you know, that takes place on its own. Nobody nurtures this stuff. Fields grow, trees grow, birds grow, animals. It's just, it's incredible. The fact that the creative force and source of the universe provides all the good for this. Do you think that you, having the mind and the consciousness at the level that we have, should be denied that good in your life? I think not. I think that it's time. I think that it's your time. I think now is our time, because that's when we have our power. It is our time to stand up, to set up, to open up to a greater good, to awaken to the oneness of humanity, to awaken to the oneness with God that we are, to awaken to our experience as divine beings, as spiritual beings, having a physical expression that we call life, and having everything available to us because we've opened up to that everything in our hearts and our minds and our consciousness, and we have allowed God to work for us by working through us. What a thought. What a wonderful, wonderful thought. And I share that with you today as we close. And as always, my closing thoughts are in my prayer. May the light of God surround you. May the love of God enfold you. May the power of God protect you, and the presence of God watch over you. Because truly, wherever you are, God is. And all is well. Make it a great week, my friends. I will see you when I come back. Blessings and goodbye.
There's a lot of good reasons to support Measure G, but for me, the most important is the funding Measure G provides to keep police officers and firefighters on the job. In the agreement with the city, Mid-Valley Disposal provides funding to help balance the budget and avoid more public safety cuts. So while outsourcing trash may not seem like a priority, safety in our neighborhoods definitely is. Please join me in supporting Measure G. It's a good deal for our city.
Hello, Central Valley. I want to invite you to a special restaurant. This restaurant not only was the first to bring this kind of food for the Central Valley, but it's also the longest lasting restaurant in Fresno with Oaxacan native food. The Oaxaca restaurant is found in the Central Valley in Fresno, on the corner of Belmont and Chestnut. This is an example of the delicious food you could find here. This is the skillet nopal oaxaqueño. This oven roasted nopal gives you a beautiful taste and texture and fiber for your life. Gives you a fulfilling meal. Plus, this string cheese is special string cheese from Oaxaca. The owner takes pride in bringing fresh.
CentralValleyTalk.com